Hello everyone, a new video on ancient Greek, finally. So this video is thanks to a request I received on a comment on a post I made in the community section of the channel to Dr. Roach 1013. Thank you very much for the suggestion because it has led me to think a lot about this topic, and here's the result. So one of the most popular approaches to learning languages in general, especially those that you can actually speak with other people, is the comprehensible input method. To give you an idea of how this method works, let us establish a distinction between learning a language and actually acquiring the language. So for instance, the learning approach is the one that most of us experience in school, let's say. So we study the grammar, we study the rules of the language with the expectation that in this way we are going to eventually learn to speak, read, write everything in that language. But on the other hand, acquiring a language is a completely different matter. So my favorite example for this is babies. So babies actually don't speak a language when they are very, very small. But then as they grow up and as they interact repeatedly with a language, eventually they end up speaking it and speaking it very well. And the same happens to adults, right? If you stop any random person in the street and you ask them, okay, explain me this grammatical rule of your native language. The adult would say, well, I really don't know, but I can guarantee you I do speak this language. Therefore, the comprehensible input approach is more on the side of the acquiring a language. So it consists of giving you a context from which you can infer the meanings of things or repeatedly expose you to certain words or certain patterns in order for you to, absorb them like a sponge and in a more natural way, imitating a little bit the experience that you have as a small child or as a baby when acquiring your native language at first. So when I read this suggestion by Dr. Roach 1013, I started thinking a lot of my own experience learning ancient Greek. Because it is one thing to apply the comprehensible input method to live languages, let's say, the languages that you can speak nowadays, and as opposed to languages that are dead. That's dead languages is the classic denomination for Latin and ancient Greek, because no one actually speaks them in real life. So how do you do it? So then I started reflecting on how I actually learned this language, and without knowing it at the time, I was actually using some sort of comprehensible input method myself. Back in the day when I was an undergrad student in philosophy and I was, diving into ancient Greek for the first time, I used to carry with me Aristotle's Metaphysics in a bilingual edition, Spanish on one side and ancient Greek on the other side. And when I started learning ancient Greek, I was checking this book as a reference and trying to read it in Greek. I didn't understand a thing, but maybe the article, the word anthropos, something very, very basic at first. But then as I progressed and the years passed, I could understand more and more of these ancient Greek texts that I knew by heart in translation. So from this example, we can understand the foundation of the comprehensible input method. It is a combination between repeatedly engaging, in this case with an ancient Greek text, plus a familiarity. I was deeply familiar with the contents of Aristotle's Metaphysics in translation. So these two things combined, the repetition plus the familiarity, which could be given in a context, for instance, in some exercises, then those two things together allow you to absorb the language in a more natural way, one in which you are not paying so much attention to the rules, but rather how things go, combined or at unison within a sentence or a paragraph. So since I'm on board with this suggestion of trying the comprehensible input method for ancient Greek, let us start with a simple text, Aristotle's Protrepticus. So this work is addressed to Themison. Aristotle writes it for Themison, who is the king of Cyprus at the time, and arguing at the beginning that the guy was, first of all, fairly rich, right? So he had money to devote to the study of philosophy. Also, he had excellent qualities to study philosophy. You know, he was apparently very talented for the study of philosophy. And last but not least, he also had a very, very good reputation. Therefore, Aristotle thought, hey man, you should definitely study philosophy. Now that you know the context of Aristotle's Protracticus, I'm going to read in Greek this very passage with these contents that I already described. So I hope that they will be helpful for you to understand what is going on in this passage. So, it says, Aristotelus Protreptikon hon έγραψε προς Θεμίσονα τον Kyprion Βασιλέα λέγον ότι ουδενή πλέιο αγαθά hyparchei προς το φιλοσοφέεσαι. Πλούτον τεγαρ πλέιστον αυτόν εκχέν χώστε δαπανάν εις τauta. Έτι δε δόξαν hyparchein autoi. So, how did it go? Could you follow the thread of what Aristotle was describing? Well, let me know in the comments if you managed or not, or how far did you get, how much of the text did you actually understand. So, the key for this comprehensible input method to work is to repeatedly expose yourself to this same text all the time. Well, in this example, of course. So I suggest you repeat the part of the video in which I'm reading very slowly the Greek text as many times as you need until you start understanding and absorbing the words that you know, the structures that may look familiar to you. And if you don't understand something, well, go and look for it in the dictionary and then explore a little bit more until this text starts becoming more and more familiar to you. Well, I hope that you liked the idea of using this comprehensible input method adapted for ancient Greek. So please leave in the comments any other suggestions that you may have. As you can see from this video, I really read them all and I try to reply to most of them as soon as I can. So please keep on giving me feedback. I want to make the content that's useful for you guys, right? And if you tell me what's troubling you or what you think would be most helpful to you, I'm happy to give you a hand with that. Okay? So until next time, may the force be with you. See you soon.